We grew up with a tidy diagram of the solar system. 9 neat circles, later 8, spinning politely around the sun. The real thing is stranger, wilder, and in some ways quietly falling apart. In the next few minutes we'll take an honest tour of 8 things about our own backyard that sound made up, but are not. Some are verified beyond doubt. A couple are still theory. None of them need exaggeration to feel impossible. Let's start close to home and work our way out. Venus is the planet most like Earth in size, and almost nothing else. It spins so slowly that one of its days lasts about 243 Earth days, while a full trip around the Sun takes only 225. On Venus, the day is literally longer than the year. Stranger still, it spins backwards compared to nearly every other planet. So the sun would creep up in the west and set in the east. We think an ancient impact, or the drag of its crushing atmosphere over billions of years, braked and flipped it. And that atmosphere is no small thing. It traps heat so violently that the surface sits around 465 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt lead under pressure 90 times Earth's. Venus is what happens when a world like ours goes wrong. Move closer to the sun and you reach Mercury, a world that is, very slowly, shrinking. When it formed, its large iron core was hot. Over billions of years that core has been cooling and contracting, and as the inside pulls in, the rocky crust has nowhere to go. So it crumples. Across Mercury's surface run enormous cliffs called scarps, some over 3 kilometers tall, hundreds of kilometers long, the wrinkles of a planet drying like an old apple. By measuring them, scientists estimate Mercury has lost around 7 kilometers of radius since it was born, and the cracks look fresh enough that it may still be shrinking today, which means a planet only a little bigger than our moon may still be having tiny quakes as it tightens. Mars today is a cold, red desert, but the rocks are telling us a different story about its past. Carved into the surface are ancient river valleys, deltas where water once fanned out, and lake beds full of clays that only form when rock sits in water for a long time. Rovers have rolled over rounded pebbles, smoothed by a current that stopped flowing billions of years ago. A northern ocean may once have covered a third of the planet. Then Mars lost its global magnetic field, and without that shield the solar wind slowly stripped its atmosphere away. The pressure dropped, and the water froze underground or escaped to space. The haunting part is the timing. Mars may have been warm and wet at the very moment life was first taking hold on Earth. Whether it ever started there too is still open. Past the asteroid belt waits Jupiter, and on its face is a storm that has been raging since before we had telescopes good enough to be sure when it began. The great red spot is a hurricane wide enough to swallow the Earth, with winds howling at hundreds of kilometers an hour, and no land beneath it to ever slow it down. We have watched it continuously for around 200 years, and older sketches hint it may be far more ancient than that. For a long time you could fit 2 or 3 Earths inside it. But here is the quiet twist. It is shrinking. Over the last century the spot has grown smaller and rounder, and no one fully understands why. We may be watching the most famous storm in the solar system slowly fade in real time. Circling Jupiter is a moon that never rests. Io is the most volcanically active world we know. So restless that it is constantly resurfacing itself, erasing its own craters. It has hundreds of active volcanoes, some flinging plumes of sulfur and lava hundreds of kilometers into space, high enough to be seen from orbit. Its whole surface glows in yellows, oranges, and reds like something left too long in the dark. But what powers it is the strangest part. Io is not warmed from within like Earth. It is squeezed. Jupiter's immense gravity, plus tugs from the neighboring moons, flex Io's solid body up and down by as much as 100 meters, and that endless flexing generates enormous heat through friction. There is no peace on Io, only the grinding of a world pulled in every direction at once. Then there is Saturn, and its rings, the most beautiful structure in the solar system, and we are lucky to be alive while they still exist. NASA's Cassini spacecraft found that the rings are raining down onto the planet, thousands of kilograms of icy water every second, pulled in along Saturn's magnetic field as a faint, glowing drizzle. At that rate, the rings may have only a few 100 million years left. A blink against Saturn's 4.5 billion year age. And here is the part the textbooks often skip. The rings may also be young, perhaps only 100 million years old. If that's true, the dinosaurs could have looked up at a Saturn with no rings at all, and we simply arrived in the narrow window when they exist. And Saturn keeps one more secret at its North Pole, a shape that looks too perfect to be natural. A giant six-sided hexagon, spinning in the clouds. Each side is longer than the diameter of the Earth. It is not painted on, and nothing solid holds it. Saturn is just a ball of gas. The hexagon is a jet stream of winds racing around the pole that somehow bends into 6 nearly straight edges instead of a smooth circle. Scientists have actually recreated the pattern in the lab by spinning fluids at different speeds, so we believe it forms naturally from the physics of rotating flows. But to see a flawless geometric shape, 4 times wider than Earth, holding steady for decades on an alien planet, still feels impossible. And it is completely real. Let's end back home with the moon, because the moon is leaving us. It drifts away about 3.8 centimeters every year, roughly the speed your fingernails grow. We know this to the millimeter because the Apollo astronauts left mirrors on the surface that we still bounce lasers off today. The cause is the tides. The moon's pull raises a bulge in our oceans. Earth's spin drags that bulge ahead, and it gently tugs the moon into a higher orbit while slowing our own day. Here is the part that should stay with you. Total solar eclipses only happen because the moon looks exactly the same size as the sun. As it retreats, that perfect match is ending. In a few 100 million years, the last total eclipse will fall on Earth, and after that, no one will ever see one again. 8 strange truths, and not one of them needed to be exaggerated. That is the quiet promise of this channel. The real universe is stranger than the clickbait version, and it holds up when you check it. One question before you go. Which of these did you genuinely not believe until now? Tell me below, and if you want the honest version of the cosmos every week, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.